family wanted to wait until I was begging for lessons rather than starting. And because I was 9, I could read, I was more independent than a small child, and I progressed quickly and enjoyed the lessons and enjoyed the performing, and just carried that on through classical studies until I was a teen, when it became clear that all my friends weren't doing classical things. They were doing much more popular modern things. But my parents were smart and said, sure, learn to play jazz, learn to play chords, learn to play whatever you want to play. We just want you to keep working and playing. I had an assignment to write a play in high school, and I wrote some music to go with the play, some theme music, and my teacher said the play was pure unadulterated crap, which it was, but the music, he said, was good music. So that was a good thing to take off from.
Where the eagles cry, where the clear winds blow, you have the chance to be free, to let your spirits go. With the stars and moon that whisper, you will never be alone.
I'd like to begin with when I first met Jeannie, which was 37 years ago. It was on Prince Edward Island. I had just started a professional career as a dancer, and I'd only been a couple of 3 years dancing, and I was romantically involved with the East Coast. And my partner and I went out there, and we met Jeannie and her husband, and right away I felt a connection with her. We stayed out there, built a place, and my daughter was born there. And Jeannie and I, we just hung out together. There was one particular winter when both of our partners were away, and we passed the winter together in a house with a wood stove and two little kids and a baby, and that was a pretty adventurous time. And that's when I found out what a great musician Jeannie was. And she had a piano, and she would just play. And I'd had a little bit of training, I guess, and I was fascinated with this idea that one note has 2 names, and which one is it after all? There can only be one. And so
A sharp is also B flat. Why?
Yeah. Why do you have to have? But she explained to me that it depends what all goes around it. It can be the same and yet not the same. And so that was the seed, I think, of a song that Jeannie started writing back then. And that stuck in my head for all these 37 years. I kept a copy of the first score, and she kept it in. And 37 years later, we've kept in touch over the years, and it hasn't been no contact. But when we decided we're going to a big reunion in Prince Edward Island this summer, we thought, well, we haven't seen those people in so long. What are we going to say we've been doing? So we pulled out these songs and finished them off and pulled out some more, and now we have 9 of them. We're going to present them at somebody's birthday party there, right? One of the special people out there, and so that was our goal.
What is the inspiration for this music, particularly? Many of these songs, many of the 9, were begun, maybe not 35 years ago, maybe 31 or 29, and they were begun on Prince Edward Island. And they've been moving to where they are now through the years. And in having Janet's partnership, they've come to a really new kind of fruition in the past few months as we've been working on completing the arrangements, completing the words, completing the orchestration of what will be used, especially in terms of the instruments that Janet's bringing to the concert, the maracas, the chimes, and the tambourine, and non-melodic instruments. I mean, her voice and my voice together are doing a lot of harmony and just newly composed are the harmonies on some of the songs that we'll be doing as well.
I wanted to add a little bit to what Jeannie said though about like the creation of the music, the inspiration, because interpreting the songs is also, for me, that's like my little special thing that I can hold on to, and it's all mine. Well, and Jeannie gives me feedback. At least two of the songs have a kind of a character or a personnage that I need to develop, and so each time I do it with her, it takes one step, and then I go home and I'm alone, and I can play with it, and I can imagine all kinds of things. So that's been developing along the way too. But I don't have a sense yet of what the whole show feels like. We've practiced going through all of it, but this concert on the 22nd will be an opportunity for me to try to find the thread through the whole thing and make it like one, something that people will enjoy, like with a shape to it. We're just still finalizing the order of the songs and how things transmit from one to the other.
Younger brothers together, how did you balance music with other responsibilities?
Well, I've always been a pianist, and I had that good fortune as a young pianist to get an entree into the modern world of jazz and pop and rock and also classical. So I just could kind of play anywhere with anybody, and I was comfortable performing. I felt comfortable getting up and doing what I had to present.
The waters run, the well runs deeper,
And in a lot of ways, I'm not a good person to ask about this because my first marriage ended with my first husband and I, who still lives on Prince Edward Island, sharing
That's whose birthday it is.
sharing the care of our two children. One of our children will be on Prince Edward Island for the concert when it happens. But because we shared the care of our children, and he lives on the East Coast, sometimes I didn't have my children anywhere near me. And for a number of months, I just traveled, I just did music, I just wrote operas, I just whatever. So I was not a full-time parent.
When we were sort of looking at the questions, I said, I don't have any responsibilities now. That's now. Back then, how can I say? By the time I left the island and went back to Montreal, I was a single mom, and my daughter was 2, 3, I guess. But I was extremely fortunate. I had been a dancer in a company for 2 years before I went to the island. I went back to that company. I taught in the company for a couple of years while my daughter was still small. And when she started school, I rejoined the company as a dancer for another 5 years. And I was just lucky because I had a job. And to bring it up to date, that's really very daunting anymore. That was the days when the money was flowing for arts back in the 70s. And it's not, that tap is almost run dry now, and I think it's fairly unfortunate. But I also, there were daycare services available that I could afford. And I just did it. I managed to live on a very meager salary, and I had a great life. Yeah. Part of the time in Ottawa, part of the time in Montreal. And, I did share my daughter with her dad somewhat. I wanted to keep her to myself most of the time, but anyway, I let her go sometimes. And when you're professional, that's your job. You go and you do it, and I was very fortunate that way.
ooh, ooh, ooh.
talent do you have that people don't know about?
Love to do things with my hands, not just put them on the piano. And so I like to make things for my 3 granddaughters, especially. It's so rewarding and so lovely to be able to make things for people whom you love so dearly and think about them every stitch. Every stitch I create, I'm thinking about the little one that I'm making the thing for. And I think that that's probably true about music too. With every note that you write and every time you go back to think about that note, you're thinking about the whole of what's happening. Part of my musical life has been the joy of collaboration. So the collaborating that we're doing is part of the social, supportive, creative mix. And I think one of the reasons why the whole of the life of music for so many years has meant so much to me is because wherever I've gone, I've been fortunate enough to make musical connections, and performance is a musical connection.
Like, well, not absolutely, but the first time I've done like 9 songs and like I've done a singing show, so I'm very excited about that. But as a choreographer, you're working with your dancers. You're pulling things out of them that you didn't even know. You work on, you see the big picture, but a lot of the detail comes from the dancers. And these days, many modern composer or choreographers, they don't compose to music. They compose their dance, and then they'll invite a composer in to come and write music for the dance that they've made. You know, and that's a complete. Well, we think it's a reversal of the classical way, but it's not really. I know that with Tchaikovsky, Petipa kept sending it back, saying, "No, we need another 16 measures here." Right, and so he'd write it, and he'd say, "No, cut to here," and that would be working. If you know, and even in the orchestra, the cadenzas and things would be taken from the interpretation of the performer.
We're talking today about one of the hard jobs that an artist has to do of presenting the material in a moving way, moving to the audience, one which will be a pure interpretation of the material and will bring up something in the listener, which will be moving to the listener, which will help them to get to a level which is important without becoming so involved in the material yourself as an artist that you just disintegrate with emotion, with tears, with feeling about what you're doing. In other words, you're singing a love song and you're feeling those words and you're telling those words, but you're not crying like the person in the song is crying. You're giving the audience a chance to hear it and get to their own level.